Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the second council meeting for November. It is November 18th. It is 7 o'clock, so we will get our council meeting started by first standing for our prayer and then the Pledge of Allegiance. God our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can. With your help and guidance, we pray this in your name. Amen. Amen. Call this meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so again, welcome. If anyone does wish to address council tonight, the sign-in sheet is back on the table by the mayor. There are agendas and tonight's legislation up on the lectern. All right, so we will get started. Mr. Hedger is not going to be with us tonight, so I will be handling all the roll calls. And that's where we're at now, so I will call the roll for tonight's attendance. Ms. Zorb?
Sorry, here.
Ms. Gaston?
Here.
Ms. Chichester?
Here.
Ms. Alexander?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Present.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Underwood?
Here.
All present. All right, you have tonight's agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Sorry. Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I would like to amend the agenda.
I was trying to beat you to that.
I'm sorry. I was trying to find my paperwork first so I could be totally prepared, and sorry, I missed my step.
I'll withdraw my motion at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Ms. Zorb?
Actually, I have a question for Mr. Dieters before I make my motion. May I?
Please.
Mr. Dieters, if I have two topics that I would like to discuss in executive session, do we make one motion and go in and then come back out for the other, or I make them both and we go in for both, or how does that?
You can make one motion for both reasons, and you can go in and you can speak about both those reasons in
Okay.
executive session.
Thank you. All right. Mr. President, I
Ms. Orr.
would like to add to the agenda to go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, and for conferences with the attorney or public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject to pending or imminent court action. And that is, so I'm sorry, I don't think I said it's Section G3. And the other one is for Section G1, and that is to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official in the investigation and charges of complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing.
Okay, where would you like to put that?
Towards the bottom somewhere. I don't have any particular.
How about after further remarks from the audience?
I love it.
All right, I'm not going to read all of that, but we do have a motion from Ms. Zorb to amend the agenda by adding executive session for two reasons. One is from ORC 121.22 G3, and the other is ORC 121.22 G1, and placing that after further remarks.
Mr. President,
Ms. Alexander.
I second that.
Motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Alexander to add the to amend the agenda by adding an executive session. Any discussion? I will call the roll.
You gotta amend it.
Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion, we accept the agenda as amended.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gaston?
I second.
Motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Gaston to accept tonight's agenda as amended. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We have minutes from the November 4th meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we accept the council meeting minutes from November 4th, 2024.
I have a motion to accept the minutes from the November 4th meeting by Ms. Underwood.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis?
I'll second.
Motion from Ms. Underwood, second from Mr. Davis to accept the minutes from the 11/4/2024 meeting. Any discussion?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
as per council rules, in order to abstain from a vote, first of all, you're not allowed to have any discussion while we're voting. The second part is you must express why you're going to abstain. So I am letting you know that I'm going to abstain because I was not in attendance.
Okay. All right, motion from Ms. Underwood, second from Mr. Davis to accept the minutes. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Abstain.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 with one abstention. All right, next item is communication. Mr. Hedger did not make me aware of any communication. So we will move on to the council committees, starting with City Community Development and Recreation.
Mr. President?
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, so CCDR met on 11/12/24 at 7:06 p.m. There was a reminder of the Food Truck Friday that is every first and third Friday of each month. An update on the Party on the Park plans are in progress. The fireworks show for 2005. Also, an update was given in on that. I haven't reached out to Chief Plackey yet, but I will do so. Ms. Zorb asked a couple of questions about who would set off the fireworks, were the businesses donating, can we send out notification? The suggestion was to place it into the newsletter, banners and flyers. Again, I did suggest that I would contact Mr. Plackey, and I haven't done that yet. Also, we spoke about the North College Hill Sports League. Mr. Walton was in attendance, and he informed us of his enthusiasm to collaborate with North College Hill. I did set a special meeting for November the 19th from 6 to 8. new business. There wasn't any old business. New business, Ms. Gaskin suggested to bring back the best yard contest, with the ideal to bring some enthusiasm into keeping the properties upkeep. Then that was all. The meeting adjourned at 7:42 p.m.
Thank you. Next is Budget and Finance.
Yes, Budget and Finance is scheduled to meet this Wednesday, but I have just learned there's a couple conflicts of schedule with some of the council, so we may be rescheduling that. So I just want council to give me a couple dates within the next week. We really need to get this meeting done. It needs to be a special 2-hour meeting, and I need all of council to be present at this meeting.
We can have that discussion in old or new business.
Okay. Also, happening on Wednesday morning, November the 20th, between 9 and 11 will be the installation of the Dunson bench. The Dunson family has been invited and notified, so if you can come out and attend and show our, respects for the family, that would be awesome.
What was that time again?
Between 9 a.m. and 11, November the 20th.
Thank you. Is that all?
That is all currently now from Budget and Finance.
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor,
if Ms. Chichester could give the location.
it's the location for the Dunstan bench.
I didn't write that in my notes. What is the location for the Dunson bench? Please remind me, Ms.
I know there are two, but that the police station is where the bench is, and I believe the stone is at the
Yes.
actual site where
Yes.
the accident happened.
Yes. You are correct.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
so Ms. Chichester, which
Mhm.
location should we go to? The PD or the,
It was my understanding the installation of the bench, not the stone, is where we were doing the ceremony, doing the installation.
okay,
So,
the PD at 9 o'clock on the 20th.
yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Is that all, Ms. Chichester?
That is all.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
Rules and Public Policy?
Mr. President, I'm going to defer to my co-chair who ran that meeting for me. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Mr. President. We discussed the parental ordinance for quite some time, and that was a request of the mayor, who asked us to review that. And so there was a lot of discussion about, does it not have enough teeth? Is it not able to be enforced, or what the issue is? So there's going to be some follow-up meetings to dig further into that. Excuse me. The next thing we spoke of was the comprehensive plan and how we were going to handle that, whether it's going to be divided up, and it was decided that it would not be divided up. And honestly, we had a lot of discussion. That's all we got to talk about.
Thank you, Ms. Orb.
You bet.
Next is Public Safety.
Mr. President, I am going to defer to my co-chair who covered the meeting for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. And the Public Safety Committee met on November 12, 2024, 6:30 p.m. We discussed elements of the comprehensive plan that discussed whether or not they could or would be able to be broken down into our committee. As a point of reference, I wasn't in for rules and public policy, we weren't privy to the prior discussion, so I didn't know about the previous decision. And we also discussed elements of the zoning board recommendation, specifically in regards to the in regards to stepping up property maintenance, maintenance enforcement, and the potential creation of a property maintenance court. In addition, from Public Works, the speed bumps are up along in the southwest sector of the city.
Yay.
Is that all, Mr. Davis?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Next up is ad hoc reports. If anyone has an ad hoc report to give this evening. All right.
Actually, Mr. President,
I had Ms. Zorb first.
I would just like to remind everyone that the tree commission is scheduled to meet this Wednesday at 6 p.m. here at the senior center.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood?
Madam Mayor, can you verify the next date of the next CIC meeting?
I was going to say that in my report here, but it is this Thursday.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, so I attended my first KOI meeting.
Okay.
OKI, thank you. Meeting. So the next one for December is canceled. I will keep an update, keep an eye out for the email for the new meeting for January 2025.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
I had Ms. Zorb first.
All right, can I back us up to Ms. Underwood? I didn't hear what time the CIC meeting is.
I
didn't say.
She didn't say. I
It's
assumed she was
6:30.
going to tell us.
6:30, Thursday.
Okay.
Ms. Underwood, was that what you had, or?
No, I actually had a question for Mr. Wilson. You mentioned that you went to the meeting. You didn't tell us what you guys talked about unless it was like secret.
Well, they did review, they were reviewing the damage to the bridge that connect Kentucky and Ohio.
There's a bridge?
They did speak about that. They were still, the transportation cabinet was still reviewing the damages and seeing their next step forward. They also did talk about the Mill Creek and the transformation over the years. So, now, like I said, it was my first one, so I was kind of trying to absorb the information that was coming out. So, I'll probably have a better report for you on the next one. But thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
You're welcome.
All right, any other ad hoc reports? We will move to administrator reports. Good evening, Madam Mayor, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. So I wanted to announce that the CIC will be having a joint meeting with the Planning Commission this Thursday. Again, that is a joint meeting with the Planning Commission at 6:30 here. That's November 21st. I would like to also wish everyone happy holidays next week. I don't think we'll see each other again for another formal meeting, and that come out and join us on November 30th, 6 p.m. at Perkins for the annual tree lighting. We're lighting up the city. Additionally, I would like to give a huge shout out to our Public Works for their hard work in getting up all the decorations. I know they're still working. They have a few more to do, and if everyone could put on their calendar, just keep in mind our skating rink that's coming in December, our Christmas skating rink. I can't remember the days right off. The 20th, I believe, through the 22nd. I could be wrong.
Is that all?
That's it.
Anyone have any questions for the mayor? All right, we'll move to the city administrator's report. She is not with us this evening. To bring us to the law director's report.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I would like to ask why the city administrator is not here.
Oh, I don't know. You have to ask her. She's not here.
Well, then I'll just answer my own question. It is my understanding that she resigned today. Is that true?
I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I would prefer to talk about it in executive session.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Dieters?
Mr. President, I know that you and I had talked about something on the phone, and I wrote notes down that you wanted me to talk about, but I can't remember what it was. Do you remember what it was?
I do not.
It was pretty minor, but otherwise I have no report. If it comes to mind, I'll let you know.
All right, thank you. Next up is the Finance Director's report. She is here. I will make note that she is here, unlike last meeting where I'm like, she's not here. Thank you. No report from the Finance Director. And then we did have the Recreation Director, Ms. Clear.
Bear with me, because I don't want to holler from across the room. It's hard to hear because I watch the videos and it's very difficult to hear if somebody's commenting from the back. So I wanted to come to a microphone, if that's all right.
That's fine.
So I was originally going to share a brief video of the Fall Festival that we had the photographer put together for us. I had some last minute technical difficulties, so that's not going to happen tonight. But I did want to let council know that I did send out, I send out fairly routinely the schedule of things that are coming up in the senior center to council. So if you're going to be planning special meetings and things like that, please double check that schedule. And if you're not sure, please contact me, contact Ben. Either one of us can look and see what's planned in this building and tell you, if we need to make some shuffling around. I know we're scheduling classes and things coming up. We have Ohio State University's having classes here with family nutrition. So we just all need to this is a shared space. It's not ideal, but and I understand that government needs take precedence over everything else. But if there's a way to kind of coordinate and move people around so we can accommodate everyone, that would be ideal. I also wanted to let the public know that on the city website calendar, if you scroll on the home page all the way down the bottom, there's calendars. There's one that's public meetings, and if you toggle, there's another one that's events and activities. So both of those calendars are on the website. And what I did this week was I was able to establish a feed from our recreation management software that we have to the website. So it automatically updates that calendar if there's any recreational programming or things like that that are scheduled. So I don't have to maintain 2 calendars now, which is fabulous. So I just want to make people aware also that feature was available to them at this time. I did want to mention, I was going to mention the Light Up North College Hill on the 30th. Also, I have done basically a call for vendors. We're going to be hosting a recreation open house on December 11th. And that details will be forthcoming, but I've reached out to several recreational organizations in the area to reserve a booth, or table basically. It'll be an open house for the community. I'm going to invite surrounding communities, and it's going to be December 11th. I believe it's co-hosted with 4-H, which is a program that we have a memorandum of understanding with through the Ohio State University Extension Program. They will be co-hosting that event with us, and I'm very excited. It took several weeks to get a date that all of us were aligned. So that will be coming out to the public here very soon, but we're very excited about that. We've already had a few people sign up to be a part of that. But it's basically going to be like a resource fair. So you know how you come in and you can see multiple organizations with programming for your kids, whether we're offering it here or they're offering it at their own facility. But it's going to basically try to do a one-stop shop, like recreational programming event here. So people will understand we can plan for spring, plan for summer, plan programming in this building. So I just wanted to make people aware that was coming. If you have content to submit for the newsletter, the deadline is November 30th. That is a Saturday, but that is the deadline for content for the upcoming issue of the newsletter.
Thank you, Ms. Clear.
Mr. President,
Ms. Orb?
sorry. I'm be in your bonnet today. Sorry. Ms. Claire, I heard you say something about the calendar and that there's the public side versus basically I didn't
There's-
understand it because I heard you say toggle, but then I heard one calendar. So
Yes,
Just help
let
me
me,
understand
clarify. On the homepage, we have a calendar, a calendar setup that is nothing but public meetings. So it's just the public meetings. It's council meetings, it's the planning commission, it's CIC. That is a standalone calendar. And then if you toggle, there's another calendar that is events and activities. Those are the events and city special events, Food Truck Fridays, the Ohio State Extension Program. And if you click on any of those, it opens up the details and information from the system where I'm managing the reservations. So that's an automatic, they're talking to each other now. So that's all that probably is too much information, but but the events and the activities calendar is also now on the city homepage.
thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clear.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester?
Ms. Claire, can you give us the date of Light Up in CH again, please?
November 30th.
What time?
I believe the tree lighting is at 6, but we might start singing Christmas carols and have other activities at 5:30, usually is what we do. But the tree lighting itself will be at 6.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up is call of members, starting with Ms. Zorb.
Thank you, Mr. President. So as I stated, Alicia Chamberlain has resigned today. And pursuant to section 6.02, number 3, she was to prepare and submit a budget to council. And per section 6.04 of the charter, I am compelling the administration to send us her unedited work product of the 2025 budget. Also, her findings of the ARPA funds. So I'll expect to see that soon. Hopefully we can get that before we have the finance meeting. It is also my understanding that the federal government, the IRS, will be in North College Hill tomorrow to perform an audit of our federal revenue.
President, that is incorrect. They will actually be on the 26th for an interview.
Actually, can I finish my call of members?
Yes, please do.
Thank you so much. The city administrator is typically the contact for such audits. So I am wondering who is going to hold that meeting, because it would seem as though we have exposure there. So I want to know if we are going to have Ms. Chamberlain come back and sit in that meeting. It is also my understanding that the finance director is inputting requisitions for other departments when they're having issues or for some reason. She also is performing the reconciliation and then signing the checks. And if that is the case, maybe I'm wrong, but if that is the case, that would put us out of compliance, and we have no separation of duties. And I know council has worked very hard to add individuals to the salary ordinance to make sure that that is not the case. I also understand that there was a memo written by the finance director that stated that payroll would be done, quote, in-house now. And that is in conflict with an ordinance that council has passed to utilize Paycor. So I want to make sure that that's not happening. There is one more issue that I received an email from Interim Chief Plackey from the fire department. And apparently there's serious issues with the OP&F reporting. And what we are reporting to them, we either underreport, and I apologize if I butcher any of this, Ms. Chief Plackey. You're certainly welcome to come in and speak more eloquently on the matter. But it sounds as though some of the times are underreported and some are overreported to OP&F, which means that the time worked is not accurate in the pension fund, which means the payments are not accurate. And apparently this has been going on since August. And so I want to make sure that that is looked into and fixed as soon as possible.
Mr. President?
Ms. Chichester?
Ms. Zorb, I already sent the email, you were on that thread, to the appropriate officials to look into that. And I also sent the email to Mr. Plackey to join Budget and Finance. And I put that on the agenda so that we could discuss more in detail after the findings, so we could see where's the disconnect, where's the error, what we need to do to fix it. So I would like to have that discussed in Budget and Finance.
And that's fine, unless I would like to open the floor for Chief Plackey if he would like to add any additional information at this time.
No, you said it.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President,
Madam Mayor?
I would ask that if the finance director, who most of this, the majority of this is directed at, if she has anything that she would like to add.
Ms. Anderson?
Thank you so much. Wow, where do I start? Can you give me the first issue, Ms. Thorpe, that you pointed out?
The first thing I mentioned was that Ms. Chamberlain resigned today. And that she was, according to the charter, she is to prepare and submit a budget. And I'm pretty sure that that was one of the reasons that we hired her to begin with. So I would like to see a copy of the unedited work product that she completed for the 2025
Mr.
budget.
President, if I could,
Madam Mayor?
just to be clear, Ms. Chamberlain is no longer with us, but she did not turn over a budget. She did not turn over a budget to us. So,
But I would
Yeah.
like to add that that doesn't mean she wasn't working on one and that she was not given time to submit it.
is that your opinion, that she
That is
wasn't given time?
absolutely my opinion.
Okay, as long as that's recorded, and that's because she had, let's see, last Tuesday, we were supposed to meet for her to give it to me. I didn't get it Tuesday, I didn't get it Wednesday, I still didn't get a copy. She said there were some things that she needed to add. I did not receive that copy from her. So we can give you, Ms. Zorb, what's in the system, what we have, we can give that to finance, to the finance committee, to council for their meeting, which is what you're requesting. You're asking for her unedited. We do not have her unedited copy.
I believe we could ask her for that.
We could.
I believe the reason it was not submitted was because there were over $1 million in items not accounted for in the budget, which made her numbers slightly skewed. So she was waiting for those items to be put back into the system.
Okay, Ms. Anderson could elaborate on that.
I'm not aware of $1 million being skewed. I had several conversations with Ms. Chamberlain where we discussed certain line items that were not updated. In particular, you mentioned earlier, was the OP&F fund. So the OP&F was not current in the financed software. And that is the only fund line item that I'm aware of. And it was nowhere near $1 million. So I'm not quite sure what it is that she was referring to.
I believe it was your report that you said not all the documents had been submitted
To what?
into the system to pay the bills.
I couldn't have said anything like that.
Okay. It's unfortunate that she is not here to speak for herself.
What was your next point that I can address for you?
The IRS will be here to audit our federal revenue.
No,
you
they
s-
will be here to audit the income tax filings. Just as any other business or organization has to file 941 income taxes, the IRS has randomly selected the year of 2022 to come in and to audit the year 2022.
And what date is
For
that they're
income
coming in?
taxes. That is on Tuesday, November 26th. And it is an interview.
Okay. My next statement was, it is my understanding that you're inputting requisitions and
I have
performing
never put in
requisition.
a requisition. That is not a function of the finance
I
director.
agree with that.
That is a function of the department heads.
Okay.
So that is something that I have never done.
But you're performing the reconciliations and signing the checks
Reconciliations of what?
of the books, of all of the,
It is also my job to reconcile the bank statements
and sign the checks.
and sign checks, correct. But I do not put in requisition orders.
Okay. Did you write a memo saying that we would now do payroll in-house?
Payroll, the upgrade to payroll, it's called Authority Payroll, was actually started by the previous administration, along with the previous software that we're updated to. So this was something that I actually inherited when I got into my position. I just completed the process.
So we're not utilizing Paycor?
We are not. We have updated, we just haven't transitioned over to the system completely. We are running what's called a parallel, and we're still training in the new software. But we're not live yet, but that is our intentions.
So there is an ordinance stating that that council wishes the city to use Paycor?
If there is an ordinance for Paycor, I'm not aware of it.
I voted on it.
Mr. President, I do recall with our previous administration where she came to council and asked council about switching the payroll software that we used, and council gave her the go-ahead to do so.
Did we do anything in legislation to authorize that?
No, I don't believe you did.
Mr.
But
President,
if I could say, in a lot of instances, you wouldn't have to do it, especially if it falls below $75,000. If they agree to go into a contract, which is what the charter says, that a city administrator can enter into a contract as long as it's under $75,000.
But I'm not sure that's to spend the money, that's not to change the vendor.
But, so let me ask you
Difference
this.
there.
Does council vote when the departments get into a contract with a copier? No. With other things, does council vote with it? No. It generally hits you when it hits that over $75,000, the contract.
I don't think we're saying the same thing. I would like to ask Mr. Dieters to look into that further.
I don't know. I don't think council would have the authority to dictate how the administration does payroll. They would only have the authority to approve or disapprove salaries.
I would speculate that you wrote the original ordinance that we passed, and so,
I don't ever remember writing an ordinance about
Okay.
Paycor. You know where it is or know what the number is, I'll be happy to look at it.
Paycor was with Ms. Long and Ms. Burton.
yep, it would have been back in 2016 or 2017. I'm finished.
Thank you. Ms. Gaston?
On a lighter note, my children and I have enjoyed driving down Hamilton Avenue towards our home and seeing the beginnings of the decorations for Christmas. So thank you guys for putting that out. I have nothing else at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Chichester?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure I said this correctly when it came to the November 20th, 9 a.m. at the police department for the Dunstan Stone first, and then the bench. I just wanted to make sure. I couldn't remember if we said the bench first and then the stone, but it is definitely stone first in front of the PD, and then onto the installation of the bench. Did I say that correctly?
No, I think the stone is at the site, and the bench is at the PD.
Sorry, I was trying to read my communication with Dave and with the family. And he definitely said stone and then the bench after the PD. But let me clarify with him again, but that was the communication he sent earlier.
Thank you.
You have anything else, Ms. Chichester, for call of members?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Alexander?
In light of everything, I just want to say, I feel blindsided. I'm on council. I feel like if I can know when a Christmas tree is being lit up, I should have known that our city administrator has quit. I mean,
Ms. Curitan, please, you promised me a month ago.
Mr. President, if I don't mean to interrupt you, I was going to ask for an executive session this evening to discuss it because it's just happened today or late last night. And there was a lot of things that need to be discussed. I didn't ask for it because Ms. Orb asked for it for the same reason, so that's why you don't know about it yet.
I mean, not that I needed to know the reasons, but just walking in, I could have been better prepared. I mean, I'm sure the public saw my shock when Ms. Orb said that because I had no idea, and that's, we have to do a better job at communicating. We've always communicated with the public, but even within ourselves, in order for us to be good stewards, we should have known that walking in the door. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson?
Yes, I want to scream out a happy birthday to Ms. Gaskins,
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
and that's all I got for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis?
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Wilson took mine. Happy belated Councilmember Gaston. And also thanks to Queen City Metro and SORTA, we've got a new crosstown route, the Route 61. It goes from Mount Airy to Madeira, and when it comes through North College Hill, it stops at the corners of Galbraith and Mulberry, Galbraith and Betts, Galbraith and, is it Merle or Merle? I'm not 100% sure how to
Merle, yeah.
Merle, okay. And Galbraith and Marvin, I know how to pronounce that one. And Galbraith and Clovernook, I know how to pronounce that one as well.
That's awesome.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Ms. Underwood?
So I would also like to say that I don't like being blindsided. It's not a good feeling. And, I really try not to feed into conspiracy theories, right? I try very, very hard not to do that. But as I look at this group of people, I wonder why Ms. Orb is the only person who knows this information. What is the difference between Ms. Orb and the rest of us? So I'm trying not to feed into the conspiracy theories, but she's privy to a ton of more information than the rest of us seem to be privy to. I have a problem with that. I'm sure that we can figure it out amongst ourselves, but that is what I will say. It is somewhat frustrating it's always also somewhat frustrating to, read a news article and I'm like, that's not quite accurate, but I feel like we need to be able to address that kind of thing as well. So, with that, I'll wait for the executive session, which I'm sure is going to dig into my sleep time. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. That brings us to remarks from the audience. First, we have Ms. Peg Albert.
I'm from the Ladies American Legion Post, which I think you all know. I do apologize if this is something I might have brought up in the past, but sometimes I don't always remember things. But we've talked about it a lot at the Post, and some of us have been, in the building over at 1500. I've been in the Post almost 10 years, and we noticed the mold in the building right away, and I just was curious. I come in one day to check the mail, and then I'm told in 24 hours we have to be out. I just don't understand what tipped the balance.
You're looking at me, so I'm assuming you're asking me. That's okay.
I don't know, whoever. I apologize.
It was the environmental report that we got.
Oh.
Because of the type of mold that was in the building. It was airborne, and it was moving into the part where we call the administrative side, which is the side you were on the back end. And it was just the report that we received, it was unsafe for anyone to be in there to breathe in those fumes.
Okay, all right,
I
thank
do know
you.
council is working on getting the asbestos and so forth removed.
Right. Okay, thank you.
All right, next up we have Ms. Arias Dukesdean.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arias Dukesdean, and I live at 6842 Marvin Avenue. I had on my list to wish Miss Brio Gaston a happy birthday.
Thank you.
I meant to text you personally, but I had a busy day. So, anywho, I wanted to personally say that. And I'd also like to extend an invitation out to everyone and to share with their friends and family the winter festival event with ice skating. It is, the dates are December the 20th, December the 21st, and December the 22nd from 4 to 8 p.m. And there will be 2 sessions each day and possibly a third. And then my next topic is kind of piggybacking off of some of the conversation that council was having in lieu of information they shared. So being former budget and finance chair, so there was a piece of legislation, and I did see that, and Ms. Kirtan pointed that out to me in her phone in 2018. It was 6/2018 for PayCorps to assume pay responsibilities. However, that does not mean that they are legislated to do it constantly, and it was put to a halt when Ms. Iki came and we were supposed to go with a different vendor. I would like to add that we were stuck in a contract, and Ms. Anderson had to negotiate us out of that contract because our former city administrator did not handle that. We knew that there were migration issues. We decided not to go forward with transposing over because we were going with a different finance software. We were making a lot of changes all at once, and it was put on pause. We were successfully able to come from underneath the contract with, I think it was ADT, and that is knowledge that I had as budget and finance chair. I would like to challenge my former council member, Conrads, to just say, sometimes, I was also very taken aback by a lot of things that came out today. But I would like to say to you all, sometimes the best way is executive session. You cannot communicate via email based on sunshine laws. So unless you wanted to be called into an emergency meeting to whenever it was
30
learned by the
seconds.
city to gain information, take that into consideration, that this is absolutely the right space. So I just wanted to remind you guys, thank you for your comments, and that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Dukestein.
Thank you.
Then we have Ms. Kathy Curitan.
I'm going to take a deep breath because this is way too much for our city. Kathy Curitan, 6718 Devonwood Drive. Mr. Dieters, I'm going to call you out. You're lying. And we know it, sir, and we're tired of the lying, sir. I respect you as the city's law director, but you knew weeks ago that she was going to resign. You even knew about the false tax reports that were filed. You're shaking your head. Because you know, you knew about that. Excuse me, sir, I have a few minutes. Okay, no problem, we'll move on. You also know about the, let me get to my point. So I want to address some questions directly. I just don't do lying. If it's broken, let's fix it, but most certainly don't lie about it. It's all repairable. So let me find my notes. So as of today, Madam Mayor, Mr. Dieters, how many unresponded to and unanswered public records requests do we have? I'll ask my question, then I'll sit down, since you don't want to answer on record right now. As of this day, can you also advise me, is there still a police investigation going on with Schran and Petroselli? Can you also talk about, let me see here, because these were questions I asked 2 weeks ago. You told me then it was 3 or 4, and now we're finding out it was way more. Can you also find out from me, Madam Mayor, what happens now with the CDBG funds? Alicia is gone. What happens with that money that was going to be given to our city? Can you also advise on the, let me see here. And I'm so glad you're here, Peggy, because I asked 2 weeks ago, who is contacting the DAV and Historical Society? They graciously pour into our city, and forgive me for speaking with such passion, but I don't like lying. Somewhere there is the truth, and I want to find out, when will the city taxpayers of North College Hill get the truth? If it's broken, let's fix it. And I'm going to call you out again, Mr. Dieters, because I know that you knew about the police investigation, specifically regarding Police Chief Schran. You continue to tell us there's no report. You continue to say you don't have anything. You continue to say you didn't know that Chamberlain was going to be let go. How would our city council, one member of city council, know others, and you say you didn't know? Somewhere, someone is lying, and I'm tired of it, and we need to fix this right away. And like I posted, because I do post on our community Facebook page, it's time to clean house. If you're not here for North College Hill, if you're not here for our city to grow, if you're not here to allow our city to be better, it's time to clean house.
Thank you, Ms. Curitan. Would you like to address the questions?
I'm not able to address the questions because of attorney-client privilege, and I will just say I've never said anything like anything she said. I categorically deny everything she said.
Madam Mayor. Ms. Curitan, please.
So I believe one of the questions Ms. Curitan asked, it was in regards to how many pieces of.
Mr. President, I'm going to interrupt you, Madam Mayor. As an attorney, I understand that if there is pending legislation, it is not smart to discuss that pending legislation without getting advice from our attorney. So I would just respectfully request that you not say anything until we have an opportunity to ask some further questions about that. Sorry.
So Ms. Curitan asked about the CDBG dollars. Because Ms. Chamberlain is no longer with us does not mean that we're not still going to pursue those dollars. So I will be contacting them to see where we are, what is needed, and we will go from there.
All right, thank you. If they don't answer them, they don't answer them. No, that's.
So I will say this, in regards to the police investigation. Can we mention? Okay, so the law director is telling me I can't mention.
So, just as a reminder, the time is for public comment. You can ask questions. If we answer them, we answer them. If we don't, we don't.
Mr. President,
Ms. Chichester.
I just want to respond to the DAV and the Historical Society and the American Legions, Miss Peggy. That is a part of us working to get back into the building. So we do apologize that you guys don't have your space. And we, as a council, when I say we, are working to come to that resolution and to get us back into our building. That is a priority of council. So I just wanted to address that since she asked that question.
All right, thank you, Ms. Chichester.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll move on to legislation. We have one item of legislation this evening. It is a first reading ordinance number 7, 2024, an ordinance to approve a memorandum of understanding between the City of North College Hill and AFSCME, Ohio Council 8, Local 2372. This is first reading.
Mr. President, if I could just mention, because there's probably going to be some questions, so I'll just
Mr. Dieters.
I'll just anticipate them. So at one point, council did have something similar to this in front of them a few months ago. I'm not certain how it got there. It was, I actually kind of just found out that it happened. We went back and met with the AFSCME group, the part-time firefighters, and that initial document was not really negotiated. So we sat down at the table and worked it out. So it was my opinion, since the numbers are completely different than they were when you first had them, that you should go through for 3 readings again. So that's why it's really a different document. So if it comes up that you had this in front of you at one time, I would just consider this to replace that document you had before.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb.
And thank you for that information, Mr. Dieters, because I was going to make that point if that motion came up. But I'd also like to request the implications to the budget from this increase. Ms. Anderson, you're still here. Could you please forward us the impact this increase will have on the budget? I would imagine those numbers have been worked out. So if you could get that to us before we have our next reading, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. President, the finance director was involved with that, and also, just in case we need to know, those make us pretty competitive in Southwest Ohio. Not at the top, but not at the bottom. We're solidly in the middle and just slightly above a lot of our competitors too, like closest competitors.
Thank you.
Can you come to the microphone, please?
Ms. Sorb, when you say impact, what do you mean by that? Because I did not state that there would be an impact to the budget.
Well, I mean, these folks are getting a raise, there has to be budget impact to that, right? I mean, if someone is making, I'm just going to make a number, somebody's making $10 a day and they're going to make $20 tomorrow, I mean, there's a impact on the budget.
So the slight increase that you do see that was calculated really fits within the realms of or comparable to what I would suggest to be a cost of living increase. And in that instance, usually there's no impact to the budget because that is what's expected. Those types of increases are expected, especially if it is remaining competitive. So
if I understand what you're saying, if someone is getting a raise, that's not going to have any effect on the budget?
What I'm saying is that there is normally an expectation that there would be a slight increase to wages each year. And we don't look at that as an impact. We look at that as a normal cost of living. So it's not going to be a negative impact to the budget.
I'm just asking for the dollar amount.
Oh, I can give you that.
Okay?
Mr. President,
Thank you.
Ms. Chichester?
Ms. Zorb, we are reviewing that as well, reviewing those numbers in Budget and Finance. So we already had that on the agenda.
Perfect. As long as I can see the numbers of what it would have been versus what it will be.
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on, the next item is further remarks from the audience as it pertains to this piece of legislation. Seeing no one, we'll move to an executive session. Need a motion and read it.
Since I have it, I'll read it. Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22, for conference with with an attorney or a public body concerning disputes involving a public body that are subject or pending or imminent court action. And, I'm sorry, I forget to say that. That was Section G, as in George 3, and also per Section G.1, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual, unless the public employee, official, licensee, or regulated individual requests a public hearing.
Okay, motion on the floor to move to executive session for the two reasons that Ms. Zorb read. The motion is by Ms. Zorb. Need a second?
Mr. President,
Ms. Alexander?
I second that.
Any discussion? Motion to move to executive session by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Alexander. I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We will move to executive session. Order. That brings us to old business. We had special meeting scheduled for Wednesday. I'd call that old business, so.
So yes, our old business, the Budget and Finance meeting, we need to reschedule. In light of everything, there's tons of conflict, and we need all of the council available at the Budget and Finance meeting Wednesday. So I need council, we need to reschedule. I'll email you guys some dates. We need to have that meeting sooner than later. And then we can communicate through email. Unless you guys want to schedule it now, tonight. Or would you guys?
I can't do Thursday.
Thursday's out. We got Wednesday out, we got Thursday out, Friday.
Today.
Does everybody, I'm sorry, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
are we scheduling tonight? Because I'll pull my calendar out, that's fine.
Let's pull our calendars out and get this, yeah. I'll pull up Ms. Clear's email about the city center to make sure we have the space. I think we're looking at Friday.
I will be at a seminar,
What's the name of that seminar?
death penalty seminar.
No, she told me the name of it. I just wanted her to say it again. It's creepy.
I am certified to sit second chair in a death penalty case, and you have to maintain that certification.
26th? Going once?
Wait, what date will you say?
Tuesday, the 26th?
What time to what time?
That's Thanksgiving week, just so
That
Right.
definitely
Yes.
is Thanksgiving week.
I am available.
What time to what time?
6 to 8.
6 to 8, it has to be a 2-hour meeting.
Okay. So 6 to 8 really means 6 to 9?
Oh, Lord, I start
Let's
cooking on
please
that
not.
date.
What'd you say on that date? Who said no on that date?
6, oh, Lord, yeah.
We could do it Saturday.
So the house get paid.
This Saturday?
Y'all want to do Saturday?
I am not available this Saturday.
I'm not available Saturday either. I leave for out of town on the 26th, but I can make it work. We can leave late if it works with the rest of council.
It'd be 5:30 to 7:30.
Well, any objections to Monday, the 25th?
Yes.
Monday works better for me.
Do we have any other committee meetings scheduled on the 25th?
No.
Oh, we don't have it on that.
Is there anything in the calendar on the,
Usually Mondays are reserved for government.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes, I can assure you that the 25th is open. Monday, the 25th is open.
Yeah, I'm looking at the calendar. There's, yeah, it's reserved for city council anyway, just in case we needed to have emergency meetings. So Monday, November 25th?
okay, 6, are we talking about 6 to 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine. I'm
All
good.
in, all done?
Everybody all in? I didn't hear agreement on everyone.
I can be there.
Okay.
6 to 8, right?
Mr. Davis?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Is this a special committee meeting and you're inviting everyone?
Yes.
Or is this a committee of the whole?
A community, special.
No.
Special, we're inviting everyone, right?
Correct.
I just need to know.
Yes. Threw me off there, Mr.
I think you should, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I think you should make it a committee of the whole.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
So just move.
Move to make it a committee of a whole?
Mr. President, I'll second.
What'd you say? Do we need to vote on that?
Mr. Dieters, do we need to vote on that?
Yes, you should.
Okay. All right. Who made the motion? I'm sorry.
I did. And I think you seconded.
Ms. Underwood seconded?
Yes.
All right. All right, so I have a motion to have a committee of the whole meeting on Monday, November 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. That motion was by Ms. Chichester and seconded by Ms. Underwood. Any discussion? All right, I'll call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. All right, any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move to new business. Anyone have any new business tonight?
Mr. President,
I'm going to go with Ms. Alexander first.
I don't know if this constitutes new business or not, but I wanted to officially say that I was going to be the liaison for council on the school board.
Okay.
I didn't know if that had to be officially out there.
You have to make a motion. You have to vote.
Oh. I'd like to make a motion to,
actually, Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll move to make Ms.
Thank you.
Alexander the liaison for North College Hill School Board.
Mr. President,
Ms. Gaston.
I second that.
I'm not sure I'm spelling liaison right, but, all right. Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Ms. Gaston to appoint Ms. Alexander as our school board liaison. Any discussion? I'll call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Davis,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood.
Yes.
That motion passes 7-0. Is that all you had?
That's all I got.
Ms. Underwood?
Mr. President, I would like to make a motion pursuant to Section 14.06 of the Charter to create a Charter Review Commission with all of the requirements that are stated in that particular section of the Charter.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
second that motion.
All right, so we have the motion on the floor to create a charter review commission. To give a brief synopsis of that based on all the things you read.
I close my computer, but basically it just lists how the members of that commission are selected. Certain ones are appointed by the mayor, certain ones are appointed by council, and everyone has to be a resident elector. So, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it. Has to be done created before December 1st for the next year, which is, we don't have any more meetings before December 1st. And then we have 6 months to do the charter review and then bring the recommendations back to city council.
Okay, so the motion is to create the charter review commission. That is by Ms. Underwood, seconded by Ms. Zorb. Any other discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Any other new business?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Chichester?
I was supposed to pick a second committee, and I couldn't pick, so I'm going to join all the committees to learn, get my feet wet, until I can narrow it down to 2.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood?
I move that we appoint Ms. Chichester to the City Community Development and Recreation Committee and the Rules and Public Policy Committee and the Public Safety Committee.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
I second that.
Motion by Ms. Underwood, second by Mr. Wilson to appoint Ms. Chichester to City Community Development and Recreation, Rules and Public Policy, and the Public Safety Committees. Any discussion? I will call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Any other new business?
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb?
I know there's been a lot of committee assignments tonight. Can we please make sure that Mr. Hedger gets that information? Because I don't believe the website is up to date with that information, and I don't believe his document is up to date. I believe there were some names that were missing, and just, it needs to be updated.
I will follow up with him on that.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Wilson?
will my committee meeting tomorrow, special committee meeting tomorrow, constitute as new business?
How so?
I mean, I'm just saying, other than I told them, just make sure they don't need to tell you more.
If you schedule a meeting, yeah, I don't need to.
Okay, thank you.
Any other new business?
I don't have new business, Mr. President,
Madam Mayor?
but it was just brought to my attention that you did not do remarks from the audience as it pertains to new legislation.
Yes, I did.
Yes, he did.
I absolutely did.
He did.
Before we went to executive session.
I looked at everybody and I said, I see none, and we moved on. All right. I think it's time to adjourn.
Mr. President.
I'd like to make a motion, we adjourn at 9:33 p.m.
Mr. President,
I had Ms. Underwood.
I second that motion.
Motion by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Underwood to adjourn. Any discussion?
No.
I'll call the roll. Ms. Zorb?
Yes.
Ms. Gaston?
Yes.
Ms. Chichester?
Yes.
Ms. Alexander?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We are adjourned.